call this meeting to order. This is a legally constituted meeting of the Town of Child Planning Board. Legal notice of this meeting has been posted. In the Gates Child News and on the bulletin board in the front vestibule of the Town Hall. If you could, please silence and turn off all phones and pagers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the event of an emergency, please use the exits in the front and the rear of the room. We will proceed with the agenda in the order in which it was published, unless otherwise stated. When called, please proceed to the podium, state your name, and if you are representing an applicant, indicate the applicant's name. Review the details of the application. Planning board members and side table participants will address questions and concerns to the applicant or the representative. For the public hearing portion of the meeting, upon completion of comments from the board and the side table, anyone wishing to comment on the application will be heard. If you wish to speak, please wait to be recognized by the chairperson. Stand, state your name and your address for the record. Please speak so all can hear your comments and address all comments and questions to the chairperson. I will now introduce our board members and side table participants. To my far left is Joe Defendis, Matt Emmons, Al Hellaby has been excused. I am Mike Nahan. Glenn Hyde has been excused. David Cross and Paul Blozier. At our side table, our town engineer is Michael Hanscom. Our building department manager is Paul Wanzenried, and our planning board counsel is Matthew Piston. Tonight, our recording secretary is Sandra Hewlett. Before we hear our application, we'll be going into executive session to review a legal matter with our counsel.
Listen, I'm going from 75 to 80. You guys my preferred No. I was born and raised in Rochester. I didn't even take advantage of the school. That was class. Spring break. Very nice. Oh, it's that's the beach is more crowded. Get to the water easy. I want to go to the guy in our office. Yeah.
last year. It's like on a separate island, right?
Right, yeah.
And much cheaper than going to Vegas, Vegas, Texas, Miami. Probably do that.
That was quick.
Right next to the. So where you don't know. But you're still
Okay, we'll continue with our meeting. Our first public hearing is the application of Andre Carrick, 120 Canal Woods, Rochester, New York, 14626 applicant, Rochester Cornerstone Group Limited, 460 White Spruce Boulevard, Rochester, New York, 14623 owner, for preliminary site plan approval to construct 40,700 square foot of warehouse space with office space at 400 International Boulevard in an LI district.
I am Thomas Arrington, representing Costas Engineering and my client with XE International.
Yep. Hi, my name is Andre Carrick. I'm with XE International. We want to build a warehouse on that property we purchased.
To briefly introduce the project, this project is located at the like the International Group. What was it called? The Cornerstone Group. Off of International Boulevard, located at 400 International Boulevard, looking to build about a little over 40,000 square foot warehouse, which includes a little over 8,000 square foot office space attached to that. This is in a limited industrial district. We do not look to change anything with the codes or the zoning in that district. We will be requesting a variance from the zoning board at the next zoning board application for front yard parking, which is in line with the rest of the parking in on International Boulevard. So the primary purpose of this facility is for a warehouse and trucking. I'm going to let Andre speak to the operations real quick of what they plan on doing.
Yeah, we run about 20 trucks coast to coast from East Coast to West Coast, so we just run over the road. There won't be that much going on as in the guys sitting around, and once they leave, they're gone for 9 to 12 days, and they come back, take a break, and run it again. So we just run coast to coast from here to California and back, and we just need a little more warehousing and a little more office space because we're kind of outgrowing it. So we want to build and kind of bring a little more jobs in, and pretty much we need a bigger facility also, just for the warehousing. So that's kind of the game plan. So.
Other than that, we have also submitted to the Conservation Board. We understand that there will be the 1% requirement for landscape on the site, whether that be into the fund or whether we place that landscaping on site. Like I said, we have also applied to the zoning board for that front yard parking variance. And as far as stormwater, most of this will be discharging back to the Black Creek Swamp out there, which was originally dealt with when they built out this industrial park, and we will continue to discharge that. We actually are providing additional stormwater maintenance on site. We'll be reducing those stormwater flows down approximately 30-35% with stormwater wet ponds, bioretention that will be landscaped as needed. And we have also submitted to county, which we received county comments, as well with the airport referral. Airport referral approved with only accommodations being that the roof not be a reflective material and that we take measures to keep waterfowl out of our stormwater ponds. So that is the brief overview of the project. So.
Joe?
I read through the engineer's comments, most of them seem minor that you can address. The only thing I don't see on here is like a dumpster enclosure for trash and that.
Okay. So, yeah, we see no issue with that. We can work with our client on locating a dumpster enclosure. Okay.
So a couple questions about, back to the over-the-road trucks. So it's all tractor trailers?
Yes, sir.
And you said how many?
20.
20?
Yep.
So I'm sure your goal is to have them all on the road, but you have a significant amount of docks and parking here.
We
So
have
it's-
sometimes drop trailers too. We have, so we kind of need the space for it. And then eventually, like I said, even we have like 1 or 2 local guys to help with the pickups, but just we need more dock space because we're gonna put a trailer up, then we have to pull it out, pull it back in because we're a little limited. So just the extra dock space doesn't hurt to have. So that's kind of the game plan. And trailer parking also, but not that much, but just a couple extra ones. So
Okay, yeah, because I guess the front setback, the variance is going to be, it's really where you have all of that trailer parking, I guess is the point, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So if you don't get that, you'd have to look to put that somewhere else on the site. I'm not saying you won't get it, I'm just saying if you didn't,
Yeah.
you'd have to strategize on where that would go. The other thing with truck movement, it looks like you, sorry, let me get the sheet here. CA 110, you guys have included some of the truck turning radiuses, and it looks like the flow of traffic. So if I'm coming in, I'm gonna make this first turn into this, what you guys are labeling, it looks like you're even labeling it truck entrance on the ground, but come in this first entrance, and you're gonna come around back, and then they're gonna come out the other side. So you're gonna direct your guys to come in that first entrance, is that correct?
Yes.
So it just looks like the truck that's in the turning radius in that 33-degree radius driveway arc is maybe not big enough because of the way those trucks are going to come around. And it doesn't look like it's a tractor trailer that you've got shown in the movement there. So I would just ask to look at that radius because they're going to swing wide, and it may not matter if that's just your truck entrance, but might as well take a look at that since you're building it new.
You're running WB 67s?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it looked like in the architectural drawings that the office space may be subdivided. Are you guys looking to own and then lease part of it out or sublet part of it out, or?
For now, just owning it, and then if we end up growing a little bit, kind of just have like 2 offices. It's kind of if we end up growing that way. So,
Gotcha. And where are you guys located now?
Behan Road, right by the airport.
Oh, okay. Yep, it's around the corner. All right, and we talked about dumpster enclosure. Are there a lot of, other than, I guess, when the guys come there, they're parking their own cars? So that's what the parking in the back
Yeah,
is for?
they come in, they leave their cars, they go on a trip. Like I said, 9 to 12 days. Come back, get their car, go back home. Because a lot of them, they just if they live in Syracuse or Buffalo, or Rochester, so they just leave their cars there and go out and come back and grab them. So some take the trucks home with them because they'll live like in Columbus, so they'll take the trucks home. So some of them we don't need the parking, but some we do. So.
Okay, and then the parking all out front, do you have clientele that come to the
We
office?
have, we don't yet, but just, a couple of office people, just have extra parking, and then if we end up doing a little more clients, it's kind of nice to have, I guess. Because where we are right now, it's like 4 spots, a little limited, so we figure just add a little extra if we can, that'd be awesome.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, and I think we looked at the architectural drawings, and I think the only question we had on that was the colors. I don't know if you guys have looked at those yet, or looked like there was a PDF in there, but I just don't know if they were.
The elevations. The elevations that are here, is that the colors that you guys had selected, or?
Tom, do me a favor, could you just move that so that we can see it and the audience can see it as well, so you know what we're talking about? Thank you.
And that's all I've got right now, Mike.
So on your drawing, you show kind of a barn-looking sliding doors, wooden doors with a brown flat panels. Is that your intent, or what are you going to do for the look of that building? I'm not sure if you answered that or not.
That's which one's coming in?
As far as, what is your intent for what the building's gonna look like for like the front of the office?
Well, we wanted to kind of like glass in the front, and then with the panels, we kind of drove by a couple places. Like I said, so we looked at CM and some other buildings.
Right.
Plus the building, when you pull on the International Boulevard, on the left side, the color, so we kind of go with like the gray on that and kind of panel it down. And I think it looks a little more sleek that way, so.
Let's see, so flat panels that are gray,
Yeah, kind of.
glass on the front?
Yeah.
Okay, and typical doors on the back, loading dock doors?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What was submitted was all brown, that's why I asked. It looks like a barn with wooden doors. Doesn't really represent what you were building, so, okay. Pretty good. Is that all you had, Matt?
Yep, I'm all set, thanks.
A couple of things on the drawing. Maybe I missed it, but I don't see snow storage. Are you going to have space for snow storage for all this parking lot area with your bioretention and pretreatments? But you need to show that on the plan as well, so that you could sufficiently move enough snow into those areas based on your parking lots?
Yep.
Are any easements needed for this?
As of right now, no. I
Okay.
don't believe so.
And the only variance, you got parking variance, right?
Correct.
Because you kind of have three fronts to the building.
Yeah. The joy, yeah.
Okay.
One of the reasons that we're needing that variance is because we're trying to leave as much of that vegetation that's between this property and Paul Road, just trying to create a buffer between Paul Road, which also on the other side is residential, so we want to try to keep as much buffer there as possible.
Do you plan on redoing any of the landscaping for the buffer that's there on Paul Road?
Yes, there would be basically there's going to be a surplus of topsoil from our earthwork numbers, so there'll be a landscape berm at the back side of that parking, and we have, I guess our landscape plan will show with that 1% building cost, we're going to plant that berm with taller conifer trees, kind of creating both a noise and a visual buffer from the truck parking.
Okay, so, because I saw that some of the parking's going to take up some of the current berm, and most of the landscaping out there now looks kind of thin, you can see right through it in the
Yeah.
winter. So that'll all be removed, you're going to raise the berm, and you're going to put conifers and deciduous trees in there so that it's screened?
Yep.
Visually. And I see you have some landscaping at the intersection, but I think we'd like to see that wrap around to the pretreatment area. You got a pretreatment pond?
Sir?
You have a pretreatment pond basin?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so
Yep.
the landscaping from the entire length of the Paul Road, then wrap that intersection of International Boulevard,
Mhm.
Paul, down to right around where that bioretention or pretreatment basin is, so that screens property from that intersection as well as the residents on Paul Road.
Yep.
And I think that'll be one of the conditions, is it's permanent landscape
Yep.
buffer, so that it'll have to be repaired or replaced if something happens to any of the trees in there.
Okay.
I think that's all I have for now. Dave?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So the town engineer brought up a comment about there's just a minor number of land bank spots in the front, like 6 land bank spots you're showing out of a total of 39 there. Would you consider just building those all right now? So that's really kind of a minor thing. And then concern about operational use of the tractor trailers? Are they running overnight? Do you envision any of that?
They come in usually during the day, and if they come in at night, they just drop and hook and leave, pretty much. So it's going to be, at night, it's not going to be really anything going on. It's more during the day.
Okay, I just, we just don't want tractor trailers sitting out there running.
Yeah, they don't run because we have on the back of the trucks, each one has it where they can turn off, and it runs without the truck being running. It's like a extra emissions that California requires, so all our trucks have it. So truck is off, but they still use the heat and the AC.
Gotcha.
So that's why in California, you're not allowed to idle more than 20 minutes.
Yep.
So we have to put it on all our trucks.
Okay, thank you.
That's kind of saves us
Yeah,
fuel,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
saves the whole noise complaint, and it saves just the truck running by burning our fuel. So
Thank you. I'm good.
And to further speak towards the town engineer's comments, we have no issue with the rest of those. There'll be some minor things with the SWIP, as well as some more dimensions and some land banked loading berths.
Some lighting in there also?
Yep, we intend to add that extra pole on that parking so that that area where cars will be staying for a longer period of time will be adequately lit.
You good, Paul? You good, Paul? You good? Any comments from the side table? Paul?
Just that the applicant, so if I understand correctly, you are going to do the 1% in plantings?
yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Make sure that's a condition.
Sure.
Please. And that, Mike, just so you know, the board knows, any landscaping that's done as part of the project must be maintained in perpetuity. It's in the code.
Thank you. Anything else? This time I'll open the public comment. Anybody wish to comment on this application? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public comment.
Second. Yes.
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 I also vote yes. One last question. The parking where there's 28 spots right along International Boulevard and Paul Road, I think that's, you said is for trailer parking, is that right?
The 28 spots is
There's a main parking lot right behind the building, then there's another one off to the truck entrance.
yeah, that's the overnight.
Yeah, that's
Those are the overnight?
overnight driver
Okay,
parking.
those
Yes.
are the overnights?
Yep.
And then the ones along the back,
The trailer ones?
they're all trailer ones, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay, so those are all trailers that'll be parked?
Yes. Whenever we need an extra space, we'll park them there. Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, whenever we need extra space, so those will be the trailers we park there. So.
Okay. And so do you bring in cargo, put it in the warehouse, and then it gets to another truck and it leaves?
Yes, or sometimes we'll drop a trailer there, and then another guy will come and grab it and leave out.
Grab
with
the
it.
trailer and
Yeah.
not
So
even
it's-
unload it?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Did you determine where the dumpster location was going to be? I think Mr. Defendis brought that up, correct? Do you know where that's going to be?
You know where you,
We don't. Which other page? I know which one makes, I mean, unless you have your opinion on which makes more sense for it to be, I don't think we more.
This will be more of an access for the garbage truck.
Yeah.
So realistically, you won't probably even right there, right perfectly out of the back, so, but over here it's kind of off the field. So we have several places that we can place it.
So wherever you place it, you'll need to enclose it.
Correct.
And you'll have to get approval from the town as to where you're going to place that to be sure that it meets our code, okay? Is that sufficient, Paul?
Just make sure that make a condition that the dumpster is, what are you going to make a dumpster out of? Chain link with vinyl slats? Are we doing materials similar to what you're building the building out of? That's what I'd want as a condition, Mike.
Got it. Have you even considered that yet?
Well, we're thinking about doing it on a block, maybe a
Block.
block, and then just like a fence it in, so.
Anything else? Any further discussion? No? As far as seeker, I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, and based on evidence and information presented at this meeting, determine the application be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. As far as conditions, this is what I've written so far. What I've picked up. If there's others, please let me know. Approval is subject to final approval by the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works. The town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works must be given copies of all correspondence with other approving agencies. Applicant to comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal. This is pending approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals of all required variances. The applicant to comply with all conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeals as applicable. Applicant shall provide landscape equivalent of 1% of the total project cost. And upon completion of the project, the applicant shall submit a landscape certificate of completion to the building department from the landscape architect, certifying that all approved plantings have been furnished and installed in substantial conformance with the approved landscape plan. Planning Board also affirms the recommendations of our Conservation Board for the landscape plan and requests that the applicant comply with these recommendations. Building permits shall not be issued prior to the applicant complying with all conditions. The application is subject to all required permits, inspections, code compliance regulations, and there is no outside storage allowed. Permanent landscape area between the property and Paul Road extending to the pretreatment area. Landscape buffer shall include plantings to screen residents on Paul Road from parking in the building during the winter months, or to include the winter months. And then we want to provide a turning radius to the town and the town engineer to show movement with the largest tractor trailer. I think you said it was 63 foot.
WB 67.
I'm sorry?
WB 67.
WB 67. And the dumpster enclosure shall be in black and located in a position approved by the town building department. Any other conditions?
Submission of dumpster enclosure? Put that in there?
Yes, the dumpster enclosure shall be in black and located in a position approved by the town building department. You're welcome. Any others?
The colors are, just FYI, the colors are listed on the elevation. It's just hard.
Are they? All right, just that word.
It's there.
Mesa rib, embossed, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
No. It's the grays and the white, just
Yep.
like the applicant described.
Exterior, it's interior, embossed flat. Okay, got it, I missed it. Thank
Yeah,
you,
I did too.
thanks. So with those conditions of approval, the application of Andre Carrick, 120 Canal Woods, Rochester, New York, 14626 applicant, Rochester Cornerstone Group Limited, 460 White Spruce Boulevard, Rochester, New York, 14623 owner, for a preliminary site plan approval with waiver of final to construct 40,700 square foot warehouse with office space at 400 International Boulevard.
Second.
Yes.
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 I also vote yes, this is approved. Thank you. Our next two applications are the application of Vista Villa Holdings LLC, CO Bill Howard, 27 Old Scottsville Chili Road, Rochester, New York, 14624. Applicant owner for a preliminary subdivision approval of 47 lots to be known as Vista Villa Phase 2 at 100 Clubhouse Drive, PRD District. In the application of Vista Villa Holdings LLC, CO Bill Howard, 27 Old Scottsville Chili Road, Rochester, New York, 14624. Applicant owner for a preliminary site plan approval to erect 47 single-family dwellings, Vista Villas Phase 2 at 100 Clubhouse Drive, PRD District.
All set?
Set.
All right. Good evening. My name is Peter Vars from BME Associates, appearing tonight on behalf of Vista Villas Holding LLC. With me this evening is Mr. Bill Howard from Vista Villas and Robert Marks, his attorney. As you mentioned, we are appearing this evening to request preliminary subdivision and site plan approval for Phase 2 of Vista Villas. And in addition to that, we would be asking a consideration be given to granting a waiver for final approval for Phase 2. Phase 2, as proposed, consists of 47 single-family lots on 15.78 acres. It is within the overall 174-lot, 282-acre Vista Villas subdivision. The property is located off of Archer Road, the town road portion of it. It forms the west boundary of the property, and it is north of Black Creek. Black Creek is the southern boundary of the property, and the CSX Railroad is the northern boundary of the overall property. The application before the board this evening is the same application and layout and number of lots for Phase 2 of an application that was approved by the Chi-Li Planning Board back on January 13th of 2015. This approval granted preliminary subdivision approval for Vista Villas Phases 2 through 6, approving 174 lots on 282.5 acres. This approval by the Planning Board on that evening also waived the final subdivision approval for Phase 2 only, which was 47 lots. At that same hearing, the Planning Board also issued a seeker negative declaration for Phases 2 through 6 at that time. And as stated in the resolution, it was based upon the information supplied and reviewed and contained within the environmental assessment form, reports provided, and testimony given at the public hearing. So this evening, we are in essence requesting a reapproval of Phase 2, given that there is no material changes to the proposal nor the property itself from what was reviewed and approved in 2014 and 2015. Vista Villas is zoned PRD, Planned Residential Development, and that was per a rezoning application taken by the town board, or rezoning action taken by the town board back on May 15th of 2002. Section 1 of Vista Villas was filed and developed in 2014. As we mentioned, Phases 2 through 6 would consist of utilize about 58.3 acres of the 282.5 acres, thus leaving about 224 acres that would be set aside and identified ag district lands and open space lands, all of this being identified through the previous approvals. So in 2023, the property owner and applicant, Vista Villas Holdings, decided to move forward with finishing the development of Vista Villas. The intent is to develop the 174 lots as they were preliminary approved in 2015. And this would be on that same 58.3 acres of the total property holdings. Through several meetings that were held with the town throughout 2023 and into 2024, the following was determined. The preliminary approval that was granted for Phase 2 has expired as a result of the conditions of that approval as it related to the waiver of the final approval were not met within the requisite 6-month time frame that's called for within the town code. However, it was also determined that the preliminary approval for Phases 3 through 6 remain intact as there is no sunset clause in the town code as it relates to preliminary approval. We also believe that the seeker determination for the subdivision for Phases 2 through 6 remains in place because that preliminary approval itself remains in place, and thus you cannot have a preliminary approval without a seeker determination. As a result of these meetings, the applicant was directed to that he would be required to reapply for Phase 2 approval, both preliminary approval and final approval, because of the expiration of the 2015 approval. So that is the application we've submitted and bring before you this evening. So that's kind of the background. I'm now going to walk you through the actual plan itself. So the proposed layout for Phase 2 is the same as was reviewed and approved in 2015. It meets the standards of that overall preliminary approval, along with the standards that were established with the PRD zoning from 2002. This includes lot standards with a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet, a minimum lot width of 60 feet, and a 35-foot front setback. The project proposes a new access onto Archer Road, just south of the Beaver Road extension. Site distances at that intersection location do exceed the AASHTO standards for site distance, both to the north and to the south. The proposed dedicated road would be extended eastward into the site and ultimately connect into Prestwick Lane, the Section 1, the road constructed with Section 1. A temporary cul-de-sac at the eastern end of the proposed street, Vista Village Drive, would be installed at this time upon Phase 2 construction. The dedicated streets will include 5-foot wide concrete sidewalks on both sides of the street and would tie into the sidewalk system on Prestwick Lane in Phase 1. Water supply to the subdivision will be provided through connections to the existing Monroe County Water Authority system with a connection at Archer Road and also to the existing water main on Prestwick Lane, thus completing a loop of that system through sections or phases 1 and 2. Sanitary sewer has been designed through consultation with the Gates-Chili-Ogden Sewer District. The collection system will be constructed by the developer and offered in dedication to the sewer district. At the Archer Road entrance, there would be a sanitary lift station installed, and that will collect the wastewater and pump it eastward and tie into the existing Gates-Chili-Ogden sewer located at the end of Prestwick Lane in Phase 1. The sewer district has provided the direction and guidance on this sewer system and has confirmed the capacity is available for the anticipated flows from the proposed development. Development of Phase 2 will also include a comprehensive stormwater management plan, a stormwater management plan that's been designed per the Town of Chili standards and also to meet the requirements of the New York State DEC Stormwater Design Manual and Construction Stormwater Permit. Stormwater, the general drainage pattern on this property is north to south, obviously being bounded to the south by Black Creek and its associated wetlands around there. A stormwater management facility that you can see highlighted in blue on the rendering would be located at the rear of lots 203 through 209. That facility has been designed per the DEC stormwater guidelines, and it is constructed such that it will be outside of the Black Creek floodplain and the wetlands and the wetland buffer that exist along the southern border of the property. We also provided a stormwater pollution prevention plan in compliance with the DEC general permit requirements. The southern portion of Phase 2 and of this entire property does contain wetlands and the floodplain to Black Creek. The wetlands on the property were recently, or were delineated as recently as in 2022, and they were reviewed in the field by the New York State DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers. There is no proposed encroachment into the wetlands or to the DEC buffer with this Phase 2 development. The floodplain itself is within that wetland area. The floodplain to Black Creek, the 100-year floodplain elevation, is 525. The lowest elevation we have for the proposed structures, as these are walkout lots that back up to the southern property line, is an elevation of 533. So we're well above the floodplain elevation with the proposed construction. The spillway within that stormwater pond is set at an elevation of 529.5, again providing that emergency relief to the pond and being over 3 feet below the nearest structure, so providing protection to these structures both from the floodplain and the stormwater pond. Phase 2 will also include the designation of around 34 acres of conservation area, and that comes from the 2015 approvals as it relates to requirements that were made by the town as to conservation areas associated with Black Creek, its wetlands, and an area. We also acknowledge the need for the access and trails through that southern portion of the property that have been identified through the previous approvals, and those will be provided by the applicant. We did provide for the board and this was at the request of town staff, we did prepare a long-form environmental assessment form, Part 1. We did prepare that and complete that for informational purposes. And to supplement that EAF, we also provided a complete engineer's report. That engineer's report includes information on the ability of this property to be served by the public water system, the Gage-Tyler-Ogden Sewer District, its compliance with the stormwater design manual and regulations, along with information on the wetlands, soils, and the floodplain. With regards to this, we find that between that information in the EAF, the plans as they've been prepared, and the information in the engineer's report, that everything with this design remains consistent with what was reviewed and approved in 2015, and also that there has been no real change to the property itself or to the proposal as it relates to what was reviewed in 2015, and thus we find it to be consistent with the negative declaration that was issued in 2015 concerning seeker. We did receive the town engineer's letter, and we did receive the Monroe County planning comments. We will address those in writing, and we've had an initial conversation with the Commissioner of Public Works on a couple of items to work out with them, but we do anticipate the ability to address those comments. So with that completes my presentation on the technical aspects and the site planning. I'm going to have Robert speak for a few moments a little bit on the procedures, okay? Thank you.
Hello, Robert Marks, attorney for Boyle & Code on behalf of Bill and the applicant here. I'll endeavor to be very brief and really speak only if questions arise in the future. As you may imagine, my presence here is in large part because of the relatively unusual and complicated procedural history of this application, and specifically as it relates to the approvals from 2015. So I think Peter did an excellent job of covering what has happened in the past. I don't intend to rehash the issue right now, but it's certainly available for questions or to respond to potential concerns from the board as they may arise relating to the procedural history of this application and how best to move forward with the procedure of this application. I'll just simply emphasize that tonight we're here right for Phase 2 for site plan and subdivision approval for Phase 2, and it's our position that seeker was completed for Phases 2 through 6 in 2015. The project is the same now as it was in 2015. The environmental impact is the same now as it was in 2015 by definition. So that's what we would ask this board to consider and how we would suggest it proceed tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, in 2022, you received a jurisdictional determination on the wetlands?
That is correct.
Where are the wetlands? What phase are they near? Or are they near the entire property?
Can you hear me? Can I stand over here?
Yes.
Yeah, so the wetlands pretty much follow Black Creek. The way this property is, and this is why this southern boundary is, what technical term we want to call it, squiggly, is it is Black Creek forms the southern boundary, so that's why it has that shape. The wetlands are on both the north and the south side of the creek, so it is along the entire southern boundary of the property. That's where the wetlands exist.
How far from the development?
The 100-foot buffer line of the New York State DEC wetlands is pretty much right along the line of where the proposed pond access road would be. So that's where the 100-foot buffer is. So the wetlands themselves are about 100 feet further south of that area.
That's where they were in 2022.
Yes, the determination is valid for 5 years.
Okay. And you resubmitted in October of '23? In your letter, you indicated that delineation was conducted by your office on October 3rd of 2023?
Yes, and that's,
Did that get resubmitted to the state?
yes, and that, I apologize, and that is what the JDs, the jurisdictional determinations were issued on. We did initial delineation in 2022 to locate the wetlands so we could confirm the site plan was still a valid site plan without encroachment, and then formally completed the formal delineation report and submitted it to the regulatory authorities.
Okay, you haven't received a response from them yet?
We have.
You have?
Yes, I
Did you submit that to
believe.
the town?
Pardon?
Did you submit that to the town?
No, but we can provide that.
As well as the 2022 determination, if you could submit that as well?
Sure.
Thank you.
And we could stay on that for a second. Peter, I look at drawing C6 here, it looks like, or drawing 6, sorry, is where you guys, excuse me, are depicting that 100-foot buffer in the wetlands, and it does look like it bumps up right up next to it, not on it, but right next to it, in back of lot 211 and 212. Is that, so it is very relevant to Phase 2. Are there wetlands on other parts of the site? Does it follow the creek the whole way back?
The wetlands do follow the creek all the way along the south property line, yes. Maybe a little hard to show on this map, but, so obviously in the gold here is section 2. Then the remaining phases 3 through 6 are through here, and then up to the railroad. Point being is, as you move eastward with the development, they start getting a further separation from the wetlands and stuff. But yes, the wetlands do exist all through along the entire south property line.
Anything else on that, Matt?
No.
On the wetlands? Okay. Joe?
I don't have anything else right now. Thank you.
Think I have any questions? Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead, Dave?
I have nothing further at this point.
Side table, any comments?
Just that the subdivision plat and the overall subdivision plat, it would be helpful if you would put that wetland delineation,
On the overall plat?
the overall plat, as well as the 100-foot buffer.
Sure. Okay.
Anything else, Mike? Anything else, Mike?
Lots of things.
Okay. At this time, I'll open the public hearing portion of the application. Anybody wishing to speak on this application? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Barb Denegris. I live at 254 Archer Road, which is the group of houses that's on the west side of the development. We have always experienced a lot of wetness coming down that hill. And if they start dislodging all of that soil and putting houses in, we're going to experience even more. The southern part of the development that's in orange is right next to an area that the Zubers, the farmers, never planted in. Never. Because it was always too wet and they would get their equipment stuck in there. So I don't know what 100 feet is, but to plant a house there, they would need a tremendous amount of sump pumps and whatever to keep their basements dry. At this point, I living at 254, there's a brand new family that moved next door to me. They have kids, it's their first house, and they have mold in their basement. When I moved in 1974, we had to put a hybrid diversion system in just to keep the wall from falling in, the basement wall. None of us are free from wetness in the basements, and if they start messing around with that hillside, we're going to have a lot of trouble. Water flows downhill. We have a little bit of a buffer in there, and that my pasture, which used to have horses in it, would always flood in the springtime. There was always a huge puddle. And the house, Brian, what number are you? 274. 274. He's down at the very far end of that development, and his backyard always floods, always. He has an above-ground pool, and I don't know how he ends up using it. He has kids, can't use the backyard. It's like a sponge, and we've seen it. I've seen it for years and years. The water flows down, and if you start messing around with that hill, you're going to have more problems, and we don't appreciate that. The other thing is that with that exit road on the southern end of the development, there's a hill there on that road. It's not a flat road. It's hard enough for any of us to get out of our driveways. And we're also experiencing a tremendous amount of tractor-trailer traffic that comes down Beaver Extension, believe it or not, a tiny little road. And it comes from the packaging company over there on Beaver Road. Comes down Beaver Extension, turns north onto Archer Road, and heads out through the intersection of Archer Road and Paul Road, which is not built for trucks, and heads up through town to get to the expressway. We're having an awful lot of trouble with that, so I don't know how anybody can feasibly say that that's going to work with that road, that exit road coming out on the south end of the development at the foot of a hill where Archer Road has traffic coming at 40 and 50 miles per hour, not to mention trucks. So I think that this planning is very faulty. And we can probably go on and give you all kinds of experiences we've had living there. But my impression of a town is to protect the residents that are already living there. And I'm hoping that this board steps up to the plate and makes sure that they look at all these avenues. These people who are building don't have to live there. We do.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Stephen Tarbell, 29 Prestwick Lane. The couple of concerns I have is what out of those 47 lots behind where my house is, are those all within the 10,000 square foot for lot size? Some of them look kind of small. And second, after living there for 8 years, that lot behind my house, there's quite a few low spots. That gets very, very wet back there. I mean, there isn't, I know a couple times with some hot weather it gets dry, but that land back there is wet. And then I didn't know that information. If a farmer never went back there and did any farming back there, that could have been the reason. But that lot back there is wet. And there's a lot of there. But my question is about the lot sizes. Some of them don't seem what the diagrams seem like the 10,000. Are they all 10,000 square foot?
There are at least 10,000, some are more.
Every one is?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
As she said, I'm Brian Lexer at 274 Archer Road, which is, I think, reveals the last house on the left. And as she's already stated quite a bit about just the absolute wetness, the mosquitoes get ridiculous down there. I like to take my kids and dog for a walk down to Black Creek, but it's only honestly accessible maybe a random month or two out of the year because it's just inaccessible. And as she said, there is this latest hill there on Archer Road, and we are just to the south of Beaver Extension Road, pulling out of our driveway between Beaver Extension and the light on the Valentine or 252 there is dangerous sometimes already. So to install another driveway next to ours, servicing 200 plus houses, and then the development that's already going on across the street, I don't know the name of that one either, unfortunately. I don't have to bring any notes.
Rose Estates or something.
Right, and those are still expanding. I don't know how many hundreds of houses are going in there, just the traffic. It's, I don't know how, logically, if people buy houses next to me, they're gonna be flooded out, their foundations are gonna crumble. It's that wet there. In my yard, it too, has water flowing through it. Not just in the spring, any heavy rain, any time of year, it's saturated. So I don't know how it's logically possible to do that.
Thank you.
And the animal life. Well, we've had family of deer spend their entire winter right behind our house in that field. Family of turkey all summer in our backyard in that field. You name it, fox, coyote, snakes, mice, everything. I don't know. Just the impact of the wildlife also.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Rachel Harrison, 1125 Crestwood. Just a little bit concerned about the noise of construction right behind our houses. My husband and I both work from home. Pretty intense jobs that require a lot of concentration, so I don't know what it would be like.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I'm Brad White at 268 Archer, so maybe just in piggybacking on our question about the noise, maybe if they could just comment to what the timeline might be. I know it depends on how fast houses sell.
Sure.
I'm in construction business myself, so I can relate to some of the obstacles that they must be going through as a developer. So in general, I can't object to development, and I'm a newbie to the neighborhood. But one of the things I'd like to know how it is going to be managed is being to the neighborhood. It's already been brought up by a couple others. That traffic, it is a blind hill leaving our driveways already. And certainly validate what Brian was saying, that it's very dangerous pulling out of my driveway and his driveway because of the blind hill there. We have to time it. So if all these residents, I don't know if they're going to be as good at timing it as we've gotten. They will get there eventually, but after an accident or two potentially. So again, there's probably a way, but I'd like to maybe hear from the development how they plan to manage that traffic flow.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Certainly, just repeat your name for the record, please.
Art Integris, 254 Archer. Is there some kind of assessment that's been done by the New York State Traffic Department, whatever it is called, to look at that intersection and that hill, and the fact that if they put out some kind of monitoring thing, they would be, I'm sure, amazed at the amount of traffic. And that is a town road. All this traffic and all those extra people are going to beat the heck out of that town road, and we're going to have to pay for it. The Beaver Road coming down and Toll Road, those are state roads. But the tractor trailers and all the population from Gates comes down Archer, goes back home that way. Valentine is considered a corridor, and a lot of people go up Archer Road, and they have no regard for the fact that we're all residential people there. We have families moving in there. We have grandchildren. I'd like to see some kind of an assessment done by the New York State Department of Transportation or whatever, who could figure out a safe way there between Beaver Road Extension and Archer Road and this new exit.
Thank you. Any other comments? Peter, a few things. You'll notice we had requested once before for a traffic study, and I believe the New York State DOT requested one as well. Has that been completed? Was a scope even ever given to you?
In talking with the New York State DOT, just let me grab my notes here. They did identify a scope, which I think was So the study has not been completed yet.
Okay.
Okay. I think they were looking at the intersection. Fred, do you remember?
I believe it was,
Excuse me, sir, your name?
sorry, Fred Shelley from BME Associates.
Okay.
I believe it was the Archer Road and the Beaver Road intersection.
Yes, that's it, yeah. It's where the State Road, where the State Road, Archer Road 252 intersects Town Road, Archer Road. That is the intersection they requested to be analyzed. So that would include trip generations, both current trip generations, projected trip generations from any approved development in the area, plus projected trip generations of the development itself. We did provide site distance analysis that is documented on the submitted plans, illustrating that the site distance as measured at the proposed intersection exceeds the recommended site distance requirements, both for intersection and stopping site distances. So
Would that include or not include the Beaver Road extension that they were talking about with tractor trailer trucks coming up?
the site distance or traffic study?
As part of the study, would that include Beaver Road extension? And they're saying trucks are coming out of the packaging place and then going up north on Archer.
So yes, the traffic counts would be done on the existing highway network. So the answer to that is yes. And it would identify what are the current volumes today. And
On Beaver Extension, you're asking, right?
I'm talking about Beaver
Yes.
extension, because they're bypassing the stoplight at that point. If I was hearing you correctly, they bypass the stoplight, come up Beaver Road extension, and then turn north on Archer.
And you can't see down Archer Road from Beaver Extension very well, because there's a hole.
Well, I'm familiar with the area, they're just doing a study at that intersection that would not include these trucks. I don't know how many a day.
no, we would,
So-
I apologize.
Back up a minute here. So the state gave you scope,
Well,
correct?
no, well, yes.
Okay.
However, we've also been in conversation with the Commissioner of Public Works, given the fact that there are town road intersections.
Right.
Okay, and that is where we will also include the proposed intersection of the subdivision street with Archer Road and Beaver Road extension, Archer Road. That Commissioner Lindsay, we had that conversation with him.
Our job is, due diligence for the citizens.
No, and
I
Mr.
wanna make sure
Lindsay
that that's
was of the same mind.
That's fine. Okay, good.
So to be sure we're clear on the scope, because we've discussed this within the town. So the intersections would be Archer and Ballantyne, which was already spelled out by the state, correct?
Yeah.
It'd be the Beaver Road extension as well as Ballantyne and Beaver Road. And that would include Archer Road in the Archer and Paul Road intersection. Which is
Archer
just,
and Paul?
correct, which is north of this development, right past the railroad tracks there.
Okay, that, I did not have that
And
conversation.
Yeah, I know, that's why I'm bringing it up now.
Okay.
To be sure, before you do the traffic study,
Mhm.
I want to be sure you have the full scope, so you don't have to come back and hear that we want an additional intersection, have to redo it, so. Is there any other scope that pretty much covers the 3 intersections and the main roadways that lead up to this
Yeah.
area?
I guess the only question I have is Paul Road's a state road, and state
Paul
D,
Road in that area, I believe, was switched to a county road?
is it county?
Yeah, I went back to,
What we'll do, Mr. Chairman, and this is typically what we will do, is we'll take this information, we'll draft the scope, we will submit it to the county, the state, and the Commissioner of Public Works, and we get everybody to sign off. For that exact reason, we
I
don't
don't
want
want you to
to.
have to come back and do it again.
Exactly.
I'm trying to save you some time.
That's correct.
Okay, so include that, and so that we could, excuse me, just hang on. So you could include that, and then that would be the traffic study we'd have to review.
Mhm.
Good? Ma'am?
The one other point is that there's a railroad.
And your name again?
Barb Denegris, 254 Archer Road, and there's a railroad track there. That
Yes.
is several times a day.
Yes.
We get backed up sometimes at 5 o'clock, right down to Valentine.
Okay, thank you.
Another part that has to affect the exit roads for the development.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? So then let's discuss seeker. I know the project hasn't changed much from the project itself. However, the area has changed quite a bit. It's been 9 years since that seeker was done. Relative to the approvals you received, there's been several larger development, Rose Hill Estates, American Packaging, just to name a few. So the decision before the board would be to review whether we would segment seeker and only require it for Phase 2, or if we would keep it seeker intact for the entire project and require it for Phase 2 through 6.
Sorry, go ahead. Do you mind if I speak to that?
Sure, go ahead.
So I think there's, segmentation is an issue that I think rarely comes up in my experience with planning boards. So I'll just speak generally to segmentation is a separate question as to whether or not you're going to reopen seeker. So you have a seeker approval from 2015 that applies to 2 through 6. What the chairman is discussing is potentially reopening that decision or redoing that decision. And then the question of segmentation is, do we do it only seeker for Phase 2, or do we do seeker for Phases 2 through 6 again? So I want to speak on both of those issues. So first and foremost, it's our position that the seeker should not be redone generally for the entire project, including 2 as well as 3 through 6. Which is a different issue than segmentation. And the reason being that those projects that may have been built after 2015 would have looked at already approved projects in the area, right? So if a project was approved and came in across the street or down the road, at that time the planning board, when it reviewed that application and conducted seeker on that application, should have, and likely did, look at our already approved construction in the area, which would have included this project, right? So for this board to hold that against us, to say, well, our other projects came in afterwards that changed the area, the burden really was on those other projects to look at what was already approved in the area, which would have been this project. So I don't believe that those are valid grounds to reopen seeker. And instead, the only thing that, in my opinion, that would be a ground to reopen seeker would be a change in the zoning, a major change in the way that the property is permitted to be used, which isn't the case here, right? Obviously, we have a planned development district. So I would respectfully submit to this board that that determination would be arbitrary, that this is the same project in 2015, it's the same project now, the environment hasn't changed, and to the extent that other projects in the area have changed the area, those projects would have considered this previously approved project. So that's question one. Again, segmentation being, do we reopen 2 or do we reopen the whole thing? If the board disagrees with me, which again, I strongly believe this shouldn't reopen seeker at all, but reopening 3 through 6 as well as 2 would be another, again, in my opinion, a grave error. And the reason being that 3 through 6 has preliminary approval. So to pull seeker on those approvals would be, in essence, to pull the rug out from underneath what we already have approvals for. So I'm trying to protect what my client received in 2015, and to take away seeker approvals from 3 through 6 would essentially require us to go through those preliminary approvals again, which is what I'm trying to avoid. And for the reason why I'm arguing the case generally is obviously the time expense associated with going through seeker again. As this board knows, for some projects, as the one that just happened, seeker is a pretty straightforward and easy matter. And back in 2015, that's exactly how this one went, right? It was unlisted action, neg decked, and it lasted as long as the last application did, according to the meeting minutes. But to the extent that seeker is going to be blown wide open, I'll use that phrase, for the whole project, that is a great time and expense to my client. It will prejudice him significantly, and it will take away the rights especially as it relates to 3 through 6 that he received back in 2015. So I appreciate you giving me that time to speak on that issue. That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
So one thing that we need to straighten out is that there's two applications pending before the board, one for subdivision and one for site plan. And there's a question, at least in my head, and I think that we need to clarify this with the town, whether or not that 2015 approval was given for, whether there was ever a site plan application, and whether seeker was ever done for the site plan for Phase 2, which I think should be taken into consideration as well.
Thank you. So with that, as far as seeker,
No, I think Paul's going to go back and pull the town's file to see whether or not an application for site plan was ever made. Before we go.
Phase 2?
Yes, for Phase 2.
Right. While Paul is doing that, I had another question. Is the approval for the entire project was given preliminary approval?
Not for 2. Right, 2 received final, which is why.
For Phase 3 through 6, though, was never given final approval.
That's my understanding.
Right. So if it was never given final approval, I'm not sure that any other seeker being done would have looked at a preliminary. They would have looked at only the final. It's entirely possible. Is that correct?
It's a planned development district, right? So the town has maps on what this project, would look like, and 1/6 of the project is completed. So I think, I haven't gone back and looked at those, the minutes for those prior seeker approvals, but I think it certainly would have been on the planning board to look at a approved project, preliminary or final, right? Partially final, partially preliminary, depending on the phase, and consider the environmental impact that it would have taken place. Again, that's for those projects, right? So if there was a project like a subdivision across the street, the question for the board would have been, is there going to be an environmental impact on this area, right? So that's why it's even more, I think, improper for the board to say, well, when we looked at that changed now your project across the street, because the environmental impact of this project would be the same as it was back in 2015, unless there's been some great change to the environment, not to other projects in the area.
Just one thought also, environmental impacts includes the traffic in the area.
Yep.
It's not just the environment, because the animals, water.
Right.
So since 2015, there is a possibility that I think part of what's happened is that the traffic impacts from some of the developments that have occurred since that time have been a little more impactful than what the developers at that time determined through their own traffic studies. So at this point in time, one of the reasons the board wants another traffic study is to try to take into account what's occurred since then and look at what the traffic impact is going to be from this development. Try to see how we can mediate those impacts. And one of the things with regards to the scope, we're looking for approvals for Phase 2, but the traffic study should take into account the development of all the phases 3 through 6 also, and what those impacts will be in addition. So I'm just saying that's one of the reasons that they may need to look at reopening secrets to take into account the changes in the environment that have occurred in all the developments that have taken place since 2015.
Well, and the traffic study is something obviously that we are doing and addressing. So I think that issue can be looked at by this board in depth without needing to reopen seeker. No, certainly, I know, I agree with you. I'm just responding to, if that's the concern, if the only concern is traffic, right, we're looking into that. We'll make sure that those concerns are addressed. It's obviously of great importance to us, but I don't believe that alone is grounds to reopen seeker for the entire project, especially, I mean, like I said, one part of it is done, and you have residents living there.
Thank you. So we'll wait for Paul, is that right? Okay.
Yes, let's wait for Paul.
And I'm not sure that the 2015 approval is going to have a site plan on it, but I don't know if that doesn't mean a site plan approval was done previously, if that makes sense.
It would be, he's looking at the entire project.
Okay, good, yeah.
Where are you getting? She's emailing him, just attachments, all right. We can. Peter, another comment while we're waiting.
Yeah.
I was reading through the other previous application from before.
Mhm.
Was there some comment made regarding a swale between the new development homes and the homes on Archer Road? Do you recall that?
Yes.
To eliminate the runoff from the yards into the Archer Road yards?
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit.
All right.
So yes, and I think it was identified in the town engineer's letter also that
Right.
there was to be an easement and for a swale to be graded along the rear of these lots as to provide drainage relief for that kind of the drainage coming off that hill east to west.
So is the lots of the existing homes on Prestwick to Phase 2 and then along Archer Road in Phase 2?
In this area.
So that no water could leave that Phase 2, correct?
Yeah, so, and then the design of this, the design itself is going to cut off the drainage that comes off that hill because all of these homes are going to be graded to drain to the proposed street. So these homes here, the fronts will drain to the street.
Right.
The street will have a storm sewer system that will collect that runoff
Okay.
and be piped to the stormwater management facility. So really, the only drainage that then will continue to the west will be off the rear yards of these six or seven lots, okay? And so the area itself is going to be reduced. Of the area that currently drains will be reduced, and it will just be the rear yard areas, the lawn areas, because all of the impervious area can get connected to the storm sewer and sent to the stormwater pond down at the south end.
So along along Archer Road, the rear of the homes, the lot line right there will be a swale there that will catch any water
Yes,
that could possibly come from any of the new development?
yes, and then again.
And that swale will be lower than the property of the Archer Road residents?
Correct, so that it'll intercept the runoff, be collected into the storm sewer system.
Okay.
To the stormwater pond.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Then just another question. What is the timeline for development for Phase 2? Do you have one?
The developer will intend to proceed as soon as all of the approvals are secured.
Okay.
So,
Is there a timeline for the infrastructure piece, like roads, sewers?
again, so the intent.
Well, like a duration of how long does that normally take?
Oh, for the construction?
Yeah, for the.
I would estimate that for a 47-lot subdivision of this size, The site work would probably take 6 to 8 months. I would imagine, between starting the moving of earth to then installing the underground utilities to then finishing off the lot grading and paving the roads. I'd say it'd be a 6 to 8 month process.
Okay, thank you.
One question. So, in regards to the water problem, has anybody looked at whether is that all surface water that's causing the issue, or is there any groundwater that's flowing below the surface in the
We have not looked at that, whether that's a subsurface flow or if it's a groundwater pattern or not. We have not.
during construction, that is an issue?
I was just going to say, in and of itself, right, the basements of all these homes will have basements, the new homes. Those basements themselves will have foundation drainage systems, so that in and of itself will collect whatever subsurface flow is maybe following that topographical pattern east to west. And yeah, I don't see an issue with if once we're grading in the rear, if we hit springs, subwater flow, to install a trench drain along when I say the invert, just below the invert of the swale, so that can intercept the groundwater, because that would be able to be connected to the storm sewer system also.
Right, about 3-4 feet.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sorry, now that we're talking about this, you're talking about behind those 6 to 7 houses that you're just talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because you've got that structure down there at that low point where you start to cross the road and.
Exactly. Yeah, so, and that is lower than the rear yard, so we'll be able to pipe to it. We'll have gravity flow. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Start bringing mine. What's up? I gotta start bringing mine. I forgot about the online. Yeah, we're online now. Yeah, you have one, right? Yeah. Just paying. Bring the charger. We got outlets up here. No, I just have a charge before I come in. I gotta do that. I'm gonna have to. I need the charger. Oh, right down. Training. One of the emails I got said we'll get our next paycheck unless we have it done. Great. Waste of time.
is.
You probably gotta do it for the wage and you gotta do it for.
Gotta do it for this. Didn't have to do it for Kidney Foundation either. Vice President for the state.
Isn't it something?
Yeah. I could see it if I was working full-time and you're in the office and dealing with people all the time, but how many times a month do I come in the office?
Right.
And now even less because we don't have to pick up anything anymore.
Yeah.
I'm never in. There's a Christmas party, and there's nothing in the eggnog, so.
Oh, we got an invite.
To the Christmas party?
No. Did you?
I've been bugging Dawn to get the dates for the Chili Fest. And I still haven't got a response.
I know how long it is.
Yeah, she said yearly trainings.
I gotta get done.
2 trainings. Yeah.
Any other minutes from any other meetings? Would have been after that.
I can check the February 2015.
Did you just do a search?
Yeah, I just picked, I knew the date, so I said January 2015 planning board meeting. Came right up. I mean, I'd have to know the date.
Is anybody going to the spring conference?
Where's that?
New York State Planning Conference? Anybody going?
No, I'm not. Where is it? Is that the one in Saratoga?
I think it's in Saratoga Springs this year. It's coming up pretty soon, sometime.
Every year. Which I thought, I did see the registration for that.
I haven't seen anything on it other than, I just didn't know if anybody was going, because I think they got budget for 2.
I have to check, I'm not sure. I know, I'm getting confused that there was something in New York City that just happened. I think that's the Association of Towns.
That's the Association of Towns.
All right, everybody. That was probably the most anticipation a planning board meeting has ever had. Okay. Like other aspects of this application, there's a little bit of a wrench and a curveball. There are no records within the town that a site plan application has ever been made for any of the phases. And we don't know, and we'd have to go back and look at the physical application, whether or not one was done for phase 1. And I think that that's going to have a bearing on what the application before the board actually is. Because I guess to summarize, we don't know what they're actually making an application for right now. So I'm going to leave it to the applicant on what they'd like to do at this point, but that's where we're at right now. Paul looked through the records and could not find anything that says that an application for a site plan has ever been made.
So what is the application that we did? That was on record from?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, what is the application that we've been talking about then from 2015?
So in 2015, the one thing that we know for sure is that in 2015, a preliminary and final approval for subdivision with conditions was given.
Okay.
How'd they ever build phase 1 then?
Probably was if I had site plan on phase 1. Why didn't they do site plan on phases 2, 3? I don't know. It's 10 years ago.
I know.
Requested tables.
Wrapped up 5 years on that lawsuit. That whole project. I was held. Can't bring
Matt? Hey, Matt. For a matter of expediency, would it be appropriate to place this on hold so they could talk somewhere? And then we'll take the next application and they can come back and we can reconvene on this application? Or do we need to have them sit in the audience to?
No,
you know where you wanna
yeah,
go?
so I apologize. So, and I'll give you a little bit of background. So part of the issue here, right, is that this is from 2015, and at the time when this application was made and granted in 2015, my client wasn't the only person part of the applicant, right, which is an LLC. And so we are without, I would say, most of the documentation that we had back in 2015. We have obviously combed through town records, and we are working well with them to find the documentation. But that's why we don't have an answer. I mean, Peter wasn't the engineer in 2015, right? So, and I wasn't the attorney, not that there even was one in 2015. So it's not that we have these files in our records that we can quickly reference. We are combing through town records, with the assistance of the town. So with that all being said, at this point, our request would be that this would be tabled to next month. During that time, we will address the concerns that have been raised, including the traffic study, which I think is a big one, and hopefully we'll come with even more answers. And, given those sort of outstanding issues, that likely would have been the outcome anyways tonight. Would be to come back another month. So we will do that. We will get more information, and we'll find out the prior approvals for site plan. Standing here now, I don't know for sure, but I would obviously assume that Phase 1 had all the approvals that it required because it's been constructed. So my assumption is that Phase 2 was in that process as well, and it's difficult for us to know because the project was changed so many times over the course of its inception, which you may or may not be aware of, but obviously adds to my client's frustration in just trying to get this project built in a manner that the town approves. So that's our request tonight, if that is acceptable to the board.
Okay. So for a matter of time, we do not have, Matt, right now, we don't have really an application to here, correct? Until we know what's been approved and not approved?
There's definitely a question as to what the actual application is, so I would agree with that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, just so you know, you have an open public hearing, so you can, I would advise.
We'll
that
we'll leave the
table.
public hearing open.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right, so we'll accept the motion of the applicant to table this to next month. Do I have a second?
Second. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Good luck. Thank you. You're welcome. Some bewildered looks. Does everybody understand what just happened? No, we did not. Public comment has been left open. The applicant has requested to table the application until such time as they could determine exactly what approvals were received in the past, because that's in question now, so that they can come back and apply for everything they may need for this development. So it's been tabled for 30 days till next month. Next month, yes. Yeah, correct. The application's been tabled, the hearing is over, but the public hearing is open until next month. So when we hear it again, you'll be able to comment. It'll be a continuation of where we left off, basically. All right? All right. Excellent. You're welcome. The last application, the application of Scottsville Road Holdings, LLC, 5857 Fisher Road, East Syracuse, New York, 13057. Applicant owner for renewal of a special use permit to allow motor vehicle repairs. Properties of 1430, 1434, and 1436 Scottsville Road in a GB district.
I could clear a room. This should be considerably easier.
All you had to do is stand up and they all left.
That's it. Jeez, I feel like I'm back at home.
Looking kind of lonely now.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't take it personal, right?
Yeah.
You probably want to table and come back next month. Right?
Yeah, no, well, I do want to hear the result of that. So Eric Smithers with Ironhorn Enterprises, who owns Scottsville Road Holdings. I don't want to build anything, and I don't want to change anything. That's the exact point. We bought the building. We want to keep the tenancy the same. We want to keep the building the same until we can figure out, do we want to improve the tenancy? How do we do it? And if so, we'll come back in for additional approvals or whatever's necessary. But right now, just want to keep the same tenants in place. I think there's a little bit less than a year on one of them. The other one is a little bit longer than a year. If we can renew them at good rates, we will. If we can improve the tenancy, we will. That's the plan.
So right now, your current tenants are the Diesel Barn. They've set a letter of intent that they're going to stay.
Yep.
The other is Palermo Waterworks. Their intent is to stay as well.
Yes, sir.
And this is changing, the only purpose for being in here is there was a condition when the special use permit was issued, 2012, I think?
Somewhere in that time frame.
Whenever it was issued, I think it was 2012, that any change of ownership would require a rehearing on
Come back
the
in.
special use permit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your intent is to keep the tenants as long as they want to be there, or look for improvements to the property, and then decide what kind of tenants you would want in there, which time, if you changed anything, you'd be coming back in front of this board for a
That's right.
preliminary
If
site
we change tenancy, the same use, would we have to come back in?
plan. For this exact same use?
Same
Just
tenancy,
a-
yeah,
like a
same
new
use.
company?
New company.
Yes.
I don't-
Yeah,
right,
come
Steve.
back in.
Yeah, by your side, code you do. Right, Paul?
I don't think, Paul, would they have to?
Depends on the condition of the special use permit, right? There we go.
Good answer.
Yeah. Depends on how the special use permit reads.
All right, well, we'll take a look. If we change tenancy, I'll be back. But otherwise, I have
But
no-
you're here to change ownership, correct? To
That's
renew-
correct, yes, we're
Okay.
changing ownership, yes, sir.
So the conditions before were, the condition of the special use permit was, if it changed ownership, they would have to come back. So I think we would leave all previous conditions on the special use permit would be, I think was what we
Yeah,
did.
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So no changes to the property, no changes to the tenancy, just a change in the ownership of the property.
That's correct.
Okay, and if there's any changes to that property, of course, you would follow the town code to come back for any preliminary site plans or preliminary approvals that you would need.
Yes, sir.
Right now, you have 3 lots, right? You're selling all 3?
They're all three, we purchased all 3.
Yo, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and you're going to keep them all 3 separate lots, or is that what you're considering?
We're
for the
keeping them
future?
all the same for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions or from the board? Side table, any questions?
Just one general, I mean, there's been a lot going on in that. Burn Dairy did a really nice job. Some recent improvements with the trail, the Genesee River Trail. I know the neighborhood's really, like, I mean, we want to see it continue to, I think, look nice and look better. And there is definitely some room for improvement to the facades of the building there. So if you could keep that in mind.
We will. So sometimes what we do is, the tenancy right now is pretty, I'll call it cheap. It's not very high rent. If we're able to swap out the tenancy at some point and increase the rents, we can put money back into the building. Right now, it cash flows enough for us to purchase it and and just kind of keep it until we figure out what the heck we want to do with it. But we do that. We've done that with a lot of buildings, just improve it because that allows us to get our rents up too. So it's a process, I think, for us. We try not to do 10, 20-year leases if it's not a credit-rated tenant because sometimes they just keep it dirtier than we like. So we try to
Understood.
improve it.
Okay, thank you.
How about, I see the property details on here, but how about any complaints of the current tenants or issues with the property?
There's no complaints on the property. The Conservation Board has asked that, I believe there was plantings along the road at one point in time. The Conservation Board has asked that they reinstitute those plantings and that they be salt deterrent plantings, okay? That's the only requirement.
They die off, is that what happened?
Yeah, the
Pretty heavily trafficked road.
traffic road, high salt, so they're looking for something that, decorative that can be easily maintained, but will withstand the heavy salt load.
On that grassy area that we currently have.
Right.
Okay.
Right
Let me
there in
take
the
it to
front.
ownership and I'll just tell them they have to do it.
Yeah.
See?
What's
Well,
your time?
It's already
You
working.
won't have a choice. These guys are going to tell you to do it.
I was hoping they won't do it, but whatever, yeah.
No, we did receive the comments from the Conservation Board exactly as Paul had outlined, and that would be a condition that
Okay.
that we accept their recommendation, so.
Okay.
What's your timeline for determining whether you're going to make any improvements?
We don't really, again, we just bought it, so we haven't really had a timeline yet, but I'll take it back to them, tell them they have to do plantings, and maybe at that time, they'll say, maybe we can re-facade or something. The tenancy, again, one tenant is less than a year left, another one is a little more, so we might start approaching them now in order to get longer-term lease. If we are able to, we're able to put more money into the building because we're able to finance it differently.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? I'll open the public hearing. Seeing no public, I'll make a motion to close the public. Yes, sir.
You thinking of the time frame?
No. For the special use permit?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to make all the previous conditions apply to this one, so a change in ownership would trip a new hearing. Seeing no public, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion.
Second.
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. Any further discussion?
I do want to make a comment on the
Sure.
prior one with the residential piece. I know it's already closed, but if they highlight that swale, that alleviates this woman's concern
Right.
about it coming down. I don't know why they didn't jump on that to begin with. And I told the developer, offer a yellow flashing at the top and at the middle or the bottom of that. Just offer it. It's relatively cheap and it alleviates and nobody gets killed. But anyway, for what it's worth, for the next meeting, because I won't be here, I'll miss all the fun. But send me the notes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, hang on, don't leave.
Oh, yeah.
You still have to go through this.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, and based on evidence and information presented at this meeting, determine the applicant to be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Have a second?
Second.
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. As far as conditions go, town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies if there are. All previous conditions imposed by this board that are still pertinent to the application remain in effect. The applicant to comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review comments, and any signage change shall comply with the town code on the property.
Yes, sir.
Including obtaining the sign permits. Any other conditions?
Conservation Board, did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one. Go back up.
It's okay.
It's past his bedtime.
Yeah. Definitely past Joe's. The planning board affirms the recommendation of the Conservation Board for the landscape plan and requests that the applicant comply with these recommendations. That's the salt-resistant plantings along the road to somewhat screen the parking lot in the building.
Gotcha.
Again, work with the building department if you know you're going to come in with a new plan for those buildings. We expect you to plan them and tear them out when you're going to redo the whole place, so
Gotcha.
come in and speak with them about that.
Okay.
With those conditions, the application of Scottsville Road Holding LLC, 5857 Fisher Road, East Syracuse, New York, 13057, applicant owner, for a renewal of a special use permit to allow motor vehicle repairs at the property of 1430, 1434, and 1436 Scottsville Road in the GB District. Second?
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes, it's been approved.
Thank you.
You have a nice night.
Signs. I picked up, a colleague picked up 2 signs for the property. We're from Syracuse, so
Right.
I have them in the car. Do I give them to anyone in particular, and when do you need
Throw
them
those out, right,
back?
Paul? Circular
Oh, really?
file.
Okay, all right.
Or the rectangular dumpster file.
Got it. Put in the block dumpster that he's going to build. We're good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Last meeting minutes were from
January.
January. Take a motion to accept the January meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Yes.
Oh, can I vote on them because I wasn't here?
Did you read them? You weren't
I
here.
didn't.
No, you can't vote on them.
You're not allowed.
Yes.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Those are approved. Any other business before the board? Meeting's adjourned.